Hey, Mason.
Hey, Seth.
Welcome, everybody. This is the Untitled podcast. My name is Seth,
I'm Mason.
and we come together on an infrequent 2 to 3 week window.
Gonna be more frequent.
So I was going to ask you, are Wednesday nights the night for
Wednesday
real?
nights. Well, I think Wednesday. So for those of you who, because we don't release it on Wednesdays, but we started off this thing trying to say, like, okay, let's record on Sundays, and then we got to Sundays and realized, man, I do not want to do that.
You still don't
And I
want to
think-
do that because Sundays are prime recorded night.
I mean, I might be able to move towards it. I think Sundays are difficult because, like, any semblance of rest happens on Saturday or Sunday for us right now.
I hear you.
And honestly, like based on some of the work, I actually have to do some. Sundays is actually a decent work day for me for programming, because Monday through Fridays are shot because, hashtag quarantine parent. So, I don't know but we're gonna figure out this weekly schedule thing. So
We are.
Untitled podcast. We committed to this week, and we are committed to next week. I said it. You heard it here first.
Committed. Hey, we can always live stream again, too. That was fun.
We could. That was fun. I think we got some good feedback on that too.
It was.
I was going to tell you. I didn't text you this, but I was actually going to tell you this. This is as good as hear some podcasts, and at the beginning of them, they read a review. Like when people give them reviews.
Yeah.
We don't get reviews, but
we haven't really determined what platform we're putting this thing on.
I was the platform of Earth. I was walking through the neighborhood, in the Noda neighborhood of Charlotte, and an old acquaintance of mine from the last gym that I coached and trained at saw me walking. He was driving by in his car, and he stopped and rolled down the window, and he said, "Hey, I really enjoyed that podcast." And I said, "What podcast?" And he's like, "The one you and your buddy did, man. I really enjoyed that last one." I was like, "Oh, thanks, man."
You know what, Mason?
And I meant to text you about that, and I was like, "Oh, wow."
I've had like 2 or 3 people say, "Yeah, that was good."
Yeah, I mean, I told you my buddy in Kentucky, actually referenced it in a text message. We were talking about something via text, and he said, "Well, based on your podcast, clearly you think the answer is this."
Wow.
So he called me on it, and
I can tell that he's a real friend because he's calling you out on something.
Yeah, big shout out to Nick. That's my boy. But yeah, I mean, it's I guess some people listen, so that's cool.
That is cool.
That's cool.
This would be really bad if it was just going out in the vapor and no one listened. But
that'd be fine. It'd be fine.
It would be okay.
It'd be the same as all the other times we sat and had coffee and talked about stuff. Just went out to the
That's
vapor.
very
No
true.
one, except for us.
That's very true. I think we wasted a couple of years talking about Noah's flood.
I mean,
that was on me. Yeah. Anyway, we'll save that one for later.
Leave your send us your questions if you want us to get into that.
Yeah. Send your questions in 2 by 2.
That's great.
So you're in a different place. Where are you at?
I am in my office at the gym that I currently own and pay the bills for, that I can't currently run. But yeah, I'm in the office at the gym.
Hey, at least you're using it, right?
Yeah. I've been working on it this week, getting it ready to. Well, was hoping to reopen this Monday, but the words came down earlier today that in the state of North Carolina, gyms and indoor fitness centers are closed for the next 5 weeks. So we got another 5 weeks. If you're doing your math at home, that's July 1st. So if you're in the state of North Carolina and you want to work out inside of a gym, you got about another 5 weeks to take that risk. I'm not so much 5 weeks at a minimum, and I'm not so much upset about. For me, I mean, I'm fine. but I know I had a lot of clients that were really anxious and excited to get back into the gym. In terms of, we always referred to this as kind of, or I always, I've referred to this for a lot of people as the third place. You have home, you have work, and you have your third place. Some people's third place is church. Some people's third place is the gym. Mm-hmm. Some people's third place is the bar. And, that was something that really resonated with me early on in this is providing a third place for people that I thought provided some benefit. And I know a lot of stuff for a lot of people has been taken away. So that was what I was the most upset about. Was I was really excited to get this place set up for my current clients to be able to come back in and train. Oh, I wasn't even going to advertise for new clients. Like we had no. I'm very hesitant to bring in new people right now. But anyway, there's so we go on.
Yeah, I know when I was supporting you, and I came to the gym for the first year of operation, like I really enjoyed it. I mean, I would get up at the crack of dawn and come in, and just having that routine built in. I think that's really important for mental health. Mm-hmm. For us, having young kids, by the time you sit down at night, if I touch the couch, I'm asleep most of the time. So it's good to go somewhere there is no couches. And there's people who are like, no, you cannot wear sweatpants in here. Of course, at the gym, you can
wear your sweatpants.
Yeah, you could.
In a sweat.
Speaking of mental health, how's yours hanging in there?
For the most part, it's going good. There's good day. There's up days and down days, but for the most part, I feel like it's going well. How about yours?
I think I'm one of these kinds of guys who doesn't have much grace for himself in very challenging and stressful situations. Like, I'm the kind of personality that's like, you should do better. Not acknowledging like this is insane. This is just absolutely bonkers. So I've had some challenges, but I am working through them. And I think one of the things that I've come back to is like, choosing to embrace this is for my good. This challenge is for my good. So what's the story and what's the meaning I'm going to give to this time? Because I'm the only one who can do that. I get to define what this means for me. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I come back to for some sanity. And I was talking to my wife about this, like really just kind of focusing on like, what's my locus of control, right? Yeah. Like what can I control about any of this? Mm-hmm. It's very few things, but knowing that I do control some things and then pushing in to do something about it, that helps too. So
yeah. How do you that leads down an interesting road, because you said what was the first sentence you said? Like, when you're not having grace for yourself, you said finding the good in this.
I think it's about attributing meaning. Like, ultimately, I'm the only one who gets to tell me what this means.
Yeah, see, I like that. There was a way that you were at the beginning that threw up a flare that might be say like, oh, does that, some people might hear that and say we have to find good in everything.
That's not what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, no, and I know you well enough to know that that's not what you're saying. It was just interesting the way that you worded it, and so it's finding the meaning, and you might have said the good for you, which could also be interpreted as the meaning for you, or the way of growth through difficult things, or what is this revealing? And I'm not trying to tell you what you're saying. I'm just
no, that's fine. I think that's fair. I think it's like a hack for me, and I think like I know that might sound really selfish, right? I mean, look. This is Seth's interpretation of Seth's experience, but ultimately this is what I get to, this is my thing, right? So
nobody else can interpret your experience except you, right?
Right. And so I consciously try to choose to believe that the things I'm undergoing are for my good, even when they're really difficult.
Yes. See that, and that, I think I think there's a fine line of interpretation there, and I also think that you're dead on. It's hard, man. The last couple of weeks, there's just been some really tough, kind of heartbreaking news that's hit close to home. I mean, not, it's been like direct friends that have been affected by some really difficult things that have happened. In dealing with loss. I'll leave it at that. But it brought up a lot of conversations that Michelle and I had about what some of the narratives that can play out in the direct midst of loss, where it's almost like people try to whitewash loss as there's good in this, or there's a plan, or something like that. And while we can philosophically zoom out and we can say, somewhere down the road, there will be gold in this, but in this moment, we sure as shit can't see it now, because we have to. I mean, that whole process starts by mourning, and that whole process starts by being pissed and angry. And I think if you skip the pissed and angry part and the mourning, then you never can fully get to the what we're calling the gold, I guess, or what I'm calling the gold, the good, the growth, or whatever. Because I think that's part of the journey. The whole obstacle is the way. That's part of the obstacle is dealing with that hurt. I sent a text message to a friend today who, about some of the really difficult things that he went through. And I said, man, I just heard the news. There are no words that I can say. I hate loss. Like that was my text. And I wanted to reach out to him and let him know that I was that I was thinking about him, and that just acknowledge that hurt. But it's so hard to not say, hope everything's okay, or
well, I mean,
ultimately, to try to encourage. Like, I struggle so much with always trying to encourage people, but it's because I hate discomfort, and so that's been a practice I'm really trying to lean into, sitting with discomfort more and more.
Well, I think I think your friend, even if you were to offer an encouraging word, even if it was tropey, even if it was like this common pat answer, like whether it's God's got a plan, or there's going to be another day, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I think most people are like, okay, no, but I mean, but that it doesn't do what you're intending it to do, right?
Right. And I don't think, it makes me wonder, it makes me wonder what's more, I think I know the answer to this, by the way, but it makes me wonder what's more valuable in community and relationship. And I'm intentionally going to use this example, but, what's more valuable, thoughts and prayers, or sitting beside me, Job's friends sitting beside him in all the muck and the crap.
I was thinking about Job too.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great story.
Yeah.
It's a great story, but, and it's, but and thoughts and prayers have all the best intentions without being difficult for the other person.
Well, and I think too, this trope about loss being some sort of deficiency on your righteousness or on your worth, right? So, like, I mean, what's really fantastic about the scripture is that Job is a whole book of how that's not the case.
Yeah.
That whole book is a commentary that everyone's going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And it's best to just be quiet when someone loses something. You know, not that it's without hope. It's not. I don't subscribe to that, but I do think, like, I was having this thought process. Maybe it was a mental exercise. I don't know what I was doing. I think I was running. And it was this idea of, what if no one is coming to save me? Like, I lived the majority of my life, and you've said this yourself, Mason. I think that's you know this idea that waiting on some outside force or person or circumstance to come and save me, ultimately, that might not be the most helpful thing to put your stock in, right? Because you're always gonna be waiting and passive.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think that discredits any faith you may have or any belief system you may have, because I feel like those things are so much bigger than what we've boiled them down to. But at the end of the day, I do believe God's put us here for a reason, but He's also given us a brain, and most of us the ability to do something with it. So it's, I don't know. Like, I think the more challenging thing is, well, I got to get up and do something about whatever the thing that's bugging me. That's probably God just saying, "Hey, get up and do something about it." not to take it so theological, but you mentioned Job, so
I'll take the hit. Yeah, I mean, something that I've really resonated with. There's a website called 30 Seconds Out, and they do a lot of apparel, stickers, stuff like that. And one of the things that they have is they have this whole line of apparel and stickers, but it basically says no one is coming to save us. Mm-hmm. It's like, no one is coming, it's up to us. And it's got a very military theme to it.
Sure.
If you go across their website, but I actually ended up ordering like a couple of those stickers, and I've kind of, I don't know if I put one on this mug or not, but on some of my other coffee mugs, it's on the back of my computer. But it's just something. It's a reminder. So, take these. Take the payroll protection program, those loans. I filled out the applications on day one. I called my bank. I was aggressive. All this other stuff. And before they could process my application, I got a call from my banker saying the money ran out. And that was the first thing that came to my mind, is like, oh, well, what was I thinking? I was going to get bailed out?
Mm-hmm. So nothing changes.
That was going. And also now look at what we're in. Like, what was I thinking? Oh, that whatever money I'm able to get is going to be enough to last the duration of this thing. Well, I just got extended another 5 weeks where I can't operate. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so that makes it a total of, what has it been, 64 days, I think?
Yeah.
And so, what does that put me out? 3 months, a quarter of the year that I can't operate?
And that's at least. Like, that's best case scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what did I think that money that I could have gotten, or maybe that I should have gotten, or that I deserved, or whatever, was actually going to be enough to save my business over the course of that 3 months? So if I just sat there and did nothing, and waited for something to save me, I would have been out of business already.
Correct.
Instead, I just had what was the, I think it was Big Daddy, where he's reading the kid, he's reading the book about the dog, about the lost dog. He's like, you get off your fucking ass and you go find that dog. What, did he put up like 2 signs? Oh, that just flashed across my mind, made me laugh. All right, sorry.
It's all right.
You get it. That's a better story than I could have told. That's a better ending than I could have come up with on my own. Quote the Saint Billy Madison. I mean, no, Saint Big Daddy, whatever his name was. Yeah, Saint Adam Sandler.
Oh my God, that is so funny.
Get off the fucking ass and you find that dog. That's great.
Adam Sandler. Happy Gilmore is probably one of my favorite films of all times.
Dude, it's like, it was Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison, and Big Daddy.
Yeah. Billy Madison.
Kind of. Oh God, yeah. Yeah, those were kind of, and I thought Mr. Deeds was really good.
Yep, that was good.
Yeah, those were some solid hitters.
Yep,
right there.
You're the gator that took Chubb's hand.
Well, it is all in the hips.
It is all in the hips. That's right.
Hips.
I like how we had like this semi-deep conversation and just railed out because of Big Daddy. Thank you, Adam Sandler.
Yeah, absolutely. What's going on in your life? How is the? Give me an update on the world of the library. Oh, side note. Look at this sweet ass piece of leather.
Where'd you get that?
I don't know if you can see it, but this right here, this little piece of niceness came from my good friend Seth Irvin for my birthday.
Happy birthday, man. It looks good. It looks really good.
It's awesome. It is awesome.
Yep.
It's got that. Oh,
that's genuine.
I just walk around smelling it.
Genuine cowhide right there. This podcast is not brought to you by Colson Keene.
It could be.
It could be.
This is not vegan.
It is not vegan.
Just like everything else in my life.
That is 100% true.
Some of the meat that I eat is vegan.
Interesting.
Think about that.
So, okay. Colson Keene Leatherworks, a local Charlotte boutique of leather goods and accessories. Yeah, we appreciate they do some good product in the Elizabeth neighborhood.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So happy birthday, man! You got a big one coming up. You excited?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Whatever. 40.
Couple weeks, man. That's
40.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Big 4-0.
7, 11, 18 days. 18 days. Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. My wife has been giving me a gift every day for the last, since the 40-day countdown. So some days, one day it was the journal that you got for me.
Yep.
And one of my buddies got me a really nice decanter and glass set.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you can drink by yourself.
Absolutely. Well, I've got 4 glasses, so I don't have to keep going back to refill my one. The really good friend of mine who is a musician wrote a song and like a funny song.
Okay, good. I was like,
yeah, no, it wasn't anything like deep. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun, but lots of like some good videos, some really nice letters. So yeah, it's been good. It's been it's one of those birthdays to me that feels like you start remembering, or you start realizing more and more that there are long days, short years. Man,
that is true.
And I know a lot of people refer to 50 as the midlife crisis, but if we're using statistics, 50 ain't midlife, man. Like, but on the other side of that, 40 is probably more standard midlife if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Right? Like
if you're doing
making it to 80.
Yeah.
But man, the more I think about it, the more I think that it's not that it's not that, man, I'm already 40, like I'm almost to the end. It's like, nah, man, I'm all right, I'm halfway. Like, well, it's halftime. I'm gonna stop for a drink, and I'm gonna hit the third and fourth quarter as hard as I can.
Absolutely, right?
I mean? Like,
well, I mean,
I'm just now starting to figure it out. Like the first quarter, like it's like when you're playing a team you've never played before.
Right.
First quarter, you're kind of feeling them out. Kind of figure out how to do this thing. Second quarter, you take some chances. Right, that one burned me.
You had a few of those.
Well, the great philosopher Rick James once said, "Cocaine's a hell of a drug." And then, but the third and fourth quarter, you go hard. You go after them because now you know how to. You know your plan of attack. So yeah, I feel like I'm in that position. I think. I don't know. I'll still get some things wrong.
You will. But, it'll be all right.
Yeah, but it'll be fun.
That's the whole point, is to learn, right?
Yeah.
Well, to answer your question, how's the library doing?
Yes. Tell me library stuff.
Library's going great. We have a plan to reopen very soon, which I probably can't announce here, but very soon the library will be opening. We're trying to keep everybody safe, customers and staff safe. That's the number one thing. And so it'll be a limited opening. We'll continue to have our ebooks and e-resources going, but we'll also allow people to check in their stuff again, which will be great. And I'm really proud of the library team. They've done a really good job navigating this and shifting digital programming over, like digital story times, all that kind of stuff. I mean, we had dabbled in that in the past, but the team really just moved forward and jumped headlong in. Good. And what's really exciting is we have a new director, new library director. And
Seth Irvin?
No, thank God. She's a good friend of mine. Her name's Caitlin, Caitlin Moen, and so she is she's a rock star, man. So I think we got some really good years ahead of us for this library system, and it makes me happy. So
very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
So and it's crazy too. Like you talk about right place, right time, hard circumstances. Caitlin really, she came in to this COVID stuff and just led, and it just became apparent like several weeks in, like this woman deserves this job, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm super stoked about it. So it's a good thing.
We should interview her.
We should. That would be great. I don't know. I'm probably too close to it, so you'd have to ask all the questions, and I could I'd provide commentary. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
You would actually know probably more of the like relevant internal questions to ask, or even good leading questions.
That's true. Well, you know what, Caitlin, if you're listening to this, you might be our next, our first ever interviewee.
Yeah. I've got a list of people in mind that I eventually want us to bring on for conversations.
Are you saying we're running out of material?
No, I just think, I just think we could do more stuff too.
Awkwardly backtrack. Yes, agreed.
More stuff too.
Right. I think that'd be great.
Yeah. So if there's anybody that you guys want us to interview, if you're listening and want to make comments on this thing,
or watching on YouTube. And by the way, we're going to put this on the YouTube channel, and I'm going to link an audio file for those of you. We're just going to keep SoundCloud until Mason figures out something better. That's on him to figure out, so no pressure.
That's my responsibility.
We might get a website for this thing, and we might get a title, but I kind of like Untitled. It kind of fits at this point.
Look, stand by 1 second.
Oh, here we go.
The Untitled.me domain is still available for $12.
Sorry, I don't know who that was.
Let's see here. How do you spell Untitled?
UN. TIT.
Yeah.
LED. LED.
Well, I'm about to buy the untitledpodcast.com.
Well, there it is. I like that. I mean, I like that title. It makes sense to me. You can think about it from a deeper level.
That sounded dirty.
So my wife Janet, she's gonna kill me for sharing this, but it made me laugh so hard. So we're like brewing some kombucha like stuff because pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I have chickens. We're growing a garden. Like we're kind of going hardcore into this urban farmsteading, whatever. But anyway, Janet was talking about this kind of kombucha like soda natural thing she's making. She's like, yeah, I'm just diving down all these hippie holes, and I'm like,
Gross.
Don't ever say that again, please. Don't ever say that again.
Gross, Janet. I'm going to text Janet.
Ew, Janet. Who are your prospective interviewees? Who would you like to bring onto this thing?
So some of the people that came to mind to ask was Ugly Tom. Do you know Ugly Tom?
Is this Drunk Tommy?
No, not Drunk Tommy. No,
I don't know Ugly Tom.
No, Drunk Tom and I don't really hang out that much
I didn't think so.
Ugly Tom is the tattoo artist that has done a majority of the work that I have.
So he knows you on a...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I've thought about Kevin over at Advent.
Yeah, great guy.
Yeah, there's a couple of other kind of people that come to mind that are Tony at Enderley.
Mm-hmm. Rich Robles.
Rich would be a great conversation.
He really would be.
So yeah, some people of that vein, maybe with no international accolades, but and really interesting people. I think that's one of the cool things about this medium is that there's a lot of really interesting people and a lot of really interesting stories out there. And I think it's cool if we could provide a platform to share some of those stories and to just have some interesting conversations about whether it's about faith, whether it's about life, whether it's about training, philosophy,
mm-hmm.
politics,
mm-hmm.
Parenting, existing, all that stuff, man. I think those would be some interesting conversations to have, and to drag some other interesting people in on them occasionally would be cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what a time to do it, right? I mean, we're living in unprecedented times. I hate to even say that, but it's true. So
yeah,
might as well. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was having an interesting conversation earlier today. I had a client that called me. It was funny. I sent out an email to all of our clients. We loaned out the equipment from the gym, and I had sent an email out earlier this week saying, our anticipated reopening date is Monday the 25th. So please return all equipment by Thursday the 21st. And then the announcement came out today that we can't open for another 5 weeks, and so. One of my clients called me. He said, "Hey, can I just hang on to this equipment?" I was like, "Sure." I mean, I don't have anything to do with it. And so, but we got into a conversation, and as we were talking, I said, "Man, it's just a fascinating time period. Mm-hmm. If we can take for a moment, and maybe it's a thing of if you're lucky enough." That you could take a beat and a breath and zoom way out,
mm-hmm.
perspective-wise, right? And see, like, man, this is a fascinating time period. There are things happening, and there are conversations going on, and there's the government's printing money, but is it enough, or should they print more? And
what is money?
People are going back to work, and like I said, my mother-in-law is staying with us right now, and we were talking today, and she's like, what are they gonna do when they try to open schools? Like and this is the question that I told her. It's like, but does this also start to beg the question, what are they teaching in schools?
Right. Or Yeah.
You know, I mean, so
Like we're having some real
fascinating stuff if we can zoom away from the panic, which is hard to do sometimes, and zoom away from the stress, or zoom away from the fear, or zoom away from the anxiety, which is hard to do. I acknowledge that.
Well, I think that's a great point. I know that we're kind of winding this down, so I'm not going to wind it back up. But
let's wind up.
One of the ideas I was having this week, we've got to work on getting the emotions out of things, right? Like we need to find ways to express the emotions, but not buy into them, not panic. Like I am an emotional creature. I am really an emotional dude. And when I was talking about mental health, honestly, what I'm talking about is my emotions taking control of my bus. We as like individuals and as a society have got to learn how to manage the emotional side of ourselves and then center around, okay, but what can we do? What is the next appropriate logical step to make this better? And I mean, I'm talking as an individual. You zoom out from a society standpoint, it gets a lot more complex, but I mean, we literally have full marketing apparati? Question mark? I don't know.
Sure.
That are trying to keep us panicked and fear all the time. So that
it goes back to the original, like, and we've heard this 1,000 times, right? It's the media bias to an extent, because the media is not about news. The media is about views.
There you go.
So what's more interesting, the plane that crashes or the planes that land? Well, planes that land are not interesting.
They're not.
Because a billion of them do it a day. But the ones that crash and kill people, that's interesting. That's what we lead the news with. And then we tell you everything that went wrong with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Which, I mean, I have a lot of respect for journalists, so I don't want to not throwing that under the bus, but I hear what you're saying. It's the focus, though.
It's not the journalists. It's what has become of that establishment.
It's the money tied to views.
Yeah.
The money is incentivizing the behavior.
Yeah.
And we have to figure out a different incentivization for better behavior.
But that God, I heard a great quote. I think it was okay, so I have to preface this. I'm reading and listening to like 5 different books right now. I feel like it came from something I heard. But the quote was every system. Oh no, okay, I know what it was. I was listening to Dak Shepard's podcast, and he was interviewing Dan Heath.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Heath's coming out with a new book, and they had a quote in the interview where he said, "Every system, every outcome is." Wait a minute, no. Oh, every system is perfectly generated to produce the outcome that it produces.
Absolutely.
So when you look at an outcome and you say, "Oh, I didn't think that was going to happen," then you don't think that the outcome is some anomaly. The system was set up perfectly to produce the outcome, right? And so when you have let's use something that's a little bit easier. When someone tells you a strategy, a nutritional strategy, we'll use my industry, a nutritional strategy or a workout strategy. Let's make it fun. A workout strategy for bigger biceps. And you follow that workout strategy and your biceps don't get, whatever happens to your biceps, like, oh, that system was built perfectly for that. So if they didn't grow, well, the system was built for them not to. And somebody got it, they got the activity and the outcome wrong. Or the system and the outcome wrong. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But the system is perfectly arranged to produce that outcome. So when you have when the outcomes that are produced are fear, anxiety, debt, comparison, Haves, have-nots, all this other. When you have a society that produces these outcomes, that means that society has been perfectly designed to produce those outcomes. So we are trained, Seth. We have been trained to think with our monkey brains.
Mm-hmm.
Is it our monkey brains or our lizard brains?
Lizard is fear. Lizard is fear and like the primal response.
Whatever the thing is, and maybe we could say primal. Whatever the thing is that is instant gratification.
That's monkey,
right? Because that instant gratification is also instant fear. Is instant anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that need for instant gratification would also be instant fear without. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if everything is about getting this safety, like maybe in this pandemic, getting this safety and getting like I mean, we could go towards the pandemic a little bit, and we've touched on this, and in no way is this meant to minimize death, right? I'll still acknowledge that and mourn and be very sad about it. But I had this conversation with somebody that I care deeply for. And I said, it sounds like what you're telling me is that you think that if you get this, that you are almost certain that you will die from it. And that person said, yeah. And I said, no, that's not true.
Mm.
That's not true at all.
Mm-hmm. I think
even the most vulnerable population, the percentage of death in the most vulnerable population, I believe, is in the single digits.
Mm-hmm. Right around 2%. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Right around 2%, which is huge from a viral scale.
100%. Again, that's why I really wanted to preface it, not trying to minimize. But
correct.
When we play the numbers,
yes,
statistically, like, and I offered this idea. It's like, what if instead of saying, and I think we talked about this on the last podcast, what if instead of saying like 4% of the population was dying, we said 96% of the population was surviving? You'd be like, oh, I'll go outside and spit in somebody's mouth. That's 96%. Do not go out and spit in
Please don't do that. That is not.
Nice. We
no.
Keep people safe. This is no joking matter.
This is no joking matter. That is for sure.
But that's, I feel like that's kind of to the point of what we're talking about. Like on the news, they're not talking about survival rates. They're talking about death rates.
So I'll say this. I think you're right to a degree.
Yeah, I think we have to both, not just one or the other.
Well, what I'll say is I think you're right about outcomes and systems to a degree. I will say this though. Based off my understanding of history, it seems like humans, when we gain new technology, new powers, whatever, we like the car, right? The car. Let's talk about the car. Yeah. We're getting there. But when like the car was a thing, we got the car before there were policemen with a car, right? We got the car before there were traffic stops, like before there were like the lights. We got the car before there was asphalt, right? There was a lot, like it was just, and for good or for bad, this would be another podcast. America's just like, oh, we got a car, let's go. You know what I mean? And people got needlessly killed because someone said, I have the freedom to get a car, I'm going to get a car. And there was no infrastructure to support it. Mm-hmm. And then someone had the good idea, hey, maybe we should put seatbelts and asphalt and stop signs.
And then not only should we put seatbelts, but maybe we should make that a law that you should wear that seatbelt.
Yeah, and maybe there should be DMVs, and maybe you shouldn't drink when you drive the car. These are just things we're realizing. Well, I think we've got the equivalent of a car called the internet, called social media, called the 24-hour news cycle. We don't. I'll just stick my foot right in. Called the two-party system. In the midst of all this, and we don't quite know how to put the brakes on to keep people safe. And people are going to, unfortunately, be pained because America's way of doing it is like finger guns through the whole thing.
I wonder if the argument that I would make is that the people that have the power to put the brakes on this system won't put the brakes on if they are benefiting, if they feel like their benefit outweighs the social costs, right?
Mm-hmm. And we have so
that's why the brakes that's why the brakes won't get put on.
Correct.
Actually, I mean that's the brake. Why did seatbelts and stop signs and all that stuff happen? Well, because in the early days of the car, if it was killing more people than were surviving, then the car wasn't going to survive. People would, with their own autonomy,
correct,
decide that my horse is safer than this car, and I will continue riding my horse.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the car can get me there faster, there's still a chance that I'll die, and I'd rather ride the horse.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually the car manufacturer said, we've got to make this more appealing than the horse, so that the benefit to us outweighs the risk or the detriment of the consumer, right?
Correct.
And until that happens, there's, have you seen a Red Fight Club?
Oh yeah.
So like his job, right? Like the job that he has, he does works in recalls.
We don't talk about Fight Club.
Well, I'm on the third rule, which means you have to fight. Or is it only two people to a fight? That's the third rule. I'm reading it right now.
Okay.
But yeah, so he's an adjuster for a
insurance. Isn't he?
Yeah,
insurance.
Well, no, he does recalls. He does recalls for a car
right.
manufacturer, and so he does the whole equation, right? If the cost of a recall is more expensive than the lawsuits,
correct,
we don't do one.
Correct.
If the lawsuits are more expensive than the cost of the recall, we do one. Plain and simple.
Yep.
We will knowingly put something out on the market that can harm people.
Yep.
Because the recall would be more expensive than the lawsuits.
Yeah. And I think that's probably the truth. My positive brain would like to think, and maybe it's zooming out a lot and saying, well, in some future state, we'll all be in Star Trek world where people are just going to be like, you know what, this is the right thing to do, so let's do it.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think that kind of coming back to it, I do think the economic models that we use to measure that behavior, we got to shift into something that is more positive, that is more holistic, and that is more communal. And I don't mean communist, but I mean for the greater good of the community.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think this health crisis is the perfect test tube to showcase what your individual freedoms can get you. Mm-hmm. And we still don't know what that's going to look like as we choose whether or not to ride our horse or ride our car, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to find out. So,
that we are.
Well, I enjoyed this conversation.
Me too.
This was good. It was
Me
good
too.
to connect. So we'll do it again sometime next week.
Yeah.
Make sure when
you post this, you let them know that we get we the first 20 minutes are decent, we hit a lull, and then the second 20 minutes are pretty solid.
Yeah, I think I might make a buffer video. I'll say, hey guys, you're about to start this podcast. First 20 minutes are good. There's about 8 minutes of lull.
Yeah.
Next 20 minutes are good.
Yeah, and then we hit another stride.
Yeah.
Which is how these things go, which is I think what makes them fun.
That's true.
Anyway, thoroughly enjoyed it, my friend.
It's good to see you. Who should we bring on? Who should we bring on somebody next week? I'm not going to put them right here.
Let's not rush it. Let's not rush it, baby. We got time, baby.
Just excited.
Let's take it slow, man. Let's take it slow, baby. We got time.
All right, Mason. Take care, man. Have a good night.
Talk to you later, brother.
All right. Bye.
Bye.